When I was little, my father was famous. He was the greatest samurai in the empire. He cut off the heads of 131 lords. He was the greatest samurai in the empire. And he took me with him.
Hey everybody. People who aren't involved with the odd world that is YouTube often ask me about the people and comments I encounter here. They're quite amused at the tragically delusional figures that make up the globe and science-denying, fear-filled, conspiracy-minded community. But the type of comments that I find most fascinating generally come from globe supporters, people who mostly come here because they agree with me. The comment is usually something like this: flat earthers are just like Democrats or liberals. This is what it's like to argue with liberals. GreaterSapien represents the conservative and the flat earther is a liberal. And it's funny because, well, I'm a liberal. Yeah, and that fact brings out an interesting trait amongst those who consider themselves critical thinkers: self-delusion. Now, I bring this up because it is September 2019 and the 2020 election season is well underway here in the United States. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the presidential elections of the US, the election season is about 18 months long. Yeah, it's a beast. And because I post a lot of political commentary on Twitter, I get a lot of feedback from fans and anti-fans alike. Anti-fans are the ones who love to hate me. They're fans that keep coming back even though they don't like me. Or sometimes it seems that they don't like the fact that they do actually like me. They're a confused bunch. But I appreciate my fans and anti-fans alike. It's an interesting thing that happens. I have people who thoroughly support my positions on science and how I've shown every globe denier that has crossed my path as the benighted fool they are. But they are sorely disappointed when they learn that I differ from them politically. Politically, I am what in America is referred to as a liberal Democrat, which is not to be confused with a liberal democracy, which is what the US political system is. That's right, fellow citizens, no matter where you are on the political spectrum, you are a part of a liberal democracy. Yeah, so when Vladimir Putin says Western-style liberalism has failed and our right-leaning pundits applaud him, he was talking about the democratic systems like ours. He doesn't believe in them. He's not a friend of the US. Trump should know that and act accordingly. Now, a bunch of my viewers just bristled at the fact that I called myself a liberal and that I criticized Trump. And whenever that happens, many of them hit me up in the comments or on Twitter and they say, you know, I really love what you do on science topics. It's too bad you don't apply the same critical thinking to politics. Or, I wish your political views were as fact-based as your science views. If they were, you wouldn't say something so stupid. So to all my political critics out there, I have a message. Actually, this is not just for my political critics. It's for all proponents of critical thinking, logic, and reason who have political opinions. Stop deluding yourselves by thinking your political opinions are due to critical thinking, logic, and reason and are purely fact-based. They're not. In politics, there are very few facts. There's what happened, when it happened, where it happened, what was written, what was stated, but none of that really is politics. That's history. Politics is about what should happen, how it should happen, why should it happen, what was meant, what was intended, what was the motivation, what's best, what's right and what's wrong, what takes priority, and what can be sacrificed, and on and on. And the answers to these questions are the opinions of individuals based on their personal biases, goals, and agendas. And I can hear some of you right now saying, no, I'm not biased. I let the facts speak for themselves. And to you I say, stop lying to yourselves. The facts cannot speak for themselves in politics for the most part. Unlike physics, there's no universal objective metric to decide what is good or best or most important. A law is written with specific words stating that doing X is illegal. That is a fact. But how people think that law should be applied is all opinion. Hell, the decision to write that law was likely based on opinions. And as much as you would like to think otherwise, your opinion is the result of numerous non-fact-based influences you've had throughout your life. when and where you were born, what community you were born into, how your parents were raised and how that influenced how they raised you, what you accepted and denied from their influence, who you were drawn to, who or what brought out your passions, your curiosity, sympathy, fears, and anger, what your economic status was and is, how that changed and why you think that happened, who your mentors were, who your tribe was, the events that happened in the world throughout your life, and the information you got about it, where you got it from, and how you processed it, and on and on. They all came together to form the biased political being that is you and me. I'm a biased political being just like you all are. The difference seems to be that I try to acknowledge that fact, and many critical thinking proponents that come at me can't admit that to themselves. They tell themselves that critical thinking guides every position they hold, and therefore, their political opinion is the only unbiased position available. They are lying to themselves. Okay, let's not say lying. Let's say that when it comes to politics, the Globe supporter and skeptic can be just as arrogantly blind to their own biases as the tragic flat earther or the religious zealot. Take this statement. If you bothered to study the topic like I have, you would know you were being lied to. Is that about politics or flat earth? I've had that directed at me from people on both topics, and I expect that kind of thing from a Globe denier. But when a person, a fan of mine, a proponent of critical thinking, directs this type of flawed critique at me, it just reminds me how politics are so utterly subjective, and try as we might, we far too often delude ourselves into thinking our positions are solely based on logic and reason. Now, I'm not saying that you don't get to take me to task if I say something political that you don't agree with. Like, if I say Donald Trump is fetid human garbage and he is the worst person to hold the office of presidency since Reconstruction, which he is, by the way. Trump is trash. Feel free to tell me you think I'm wrong about how corrupt and narcissistic he is. But don't claim that your assessment of him, of AOC and the squad, of what is the right and wrong course of action for the U.S. is based solely on logic, reason, and critical thinking. Because you're wrong. But you're not just wrong. You're lying to yourself. And that's not a good habit to have. So, take care. I look forward to your feedback. And Trump is trash.
That's my job! That's what I do! I don't lose! I win! Is there no one on this planet to even challenge me?
Maybe you came by to congratulate me on last night's victory.